Hey, there we are.
Hey, new dad Woolie, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Doing good. There's people now know, and there are 2 pieces of fan art, and that's cool.
I like the one of our kids playing Street Fighter or whatever. It's adorable. Christina, you do good work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Obviously, Punch Mom's loving it. That's super cute. Thank you so much. It's wild for someone to have fan art before they exist. It is crazy. That's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
That is a not normal occurrence. Wow. What are we yeah. All right. Let's see whatever that means. I don't know. But yeah, no, that was very
nice
cool.
to see everybody happy for you. Right?
Yes, and Drawer-san on Blue Sky, who also did a little family pic with a fun little glasses kid. So good stuff. That's a lot of fun.
And that's really crazy because, like, well, this is what people thought you were going to look like in cartoon form.
Sure,
like way back, like when you were still not quite a zygote.
Yeah,
but a fetus.
You were in that phase that people are legally arguing about.
Yeah, no, you're in the goo form.
That one where we can still confuse you for a dolphin or a person.
Yeah. As we work through all of our evolutionary processes, just like the Predator told us.
Did he?
I think I might have gotten my sci-fis a little confused there for a second.
Okay. No, I think you're thinking of the black goop.
I am thinking of the black goop.
I read your mind. Yeah, I read your mind. Yeah, I got that.
That's damn.
Totally.
That's good. That was spot on.
Speaking of black goop.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold it back for a second. All right, let's go.
You're okay. Listen.
What are we actually talking about?
Brain works a little too fast there. Hold on a minute. Just okay. You see, the problem is that, and the longer I stall this, the worse it gets. Right. The problem is
I put my brain on hold.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm using the same part of my brain to put this on hold that I use to turn off the baby's songs when they're playing in the living room.
Okay. Okay. Good. Because this race to the punchline ass mentality is not going to be good for us in the long run.
No, I'm going to hold on this.
All right. Speaking of black goop, the film The Thing, I saw that the other day, and I talked about how much I enjoyed it.
That's right. One of the best movies ever made.
Yes.
Best special effects anyway. Like, holy fuck.
So at Cinema de Parc here in Montreal, they were playing Escape from New York. And Reggie was like, yo, you want
sequel?
Yeah,
thing.
Exactly. The prequel, actually. But it's like, yo,
is it?
Do you want to go catch that? And it was like, yeah. So, grabbed Min and Shane, and we all went and checked it out. And like, that's one of the ones that I feel like I've seen in bits and pieces on TV a little bit, broken up, but not quite sitting down doing it to completion.
I think you have maybe seen the entirety of Escape from New York in pieces throughout the media you have consumed over your life.
It's kind of impossible.
Like the whole thing.
It's kind of
every part of the Escape from New York Buffalo.
Yes. Including South Park. South Park is a very crucial element. You can't just rely on Kojima to tell you the story of Snake Plissken. Because I don't know if you remember much about Escape from New York, but
I remember the parts from Cyberpunk and Metal Gear.
Okay. Yeah, it's great, right? It's great. I know I've heard a lot about how LA doesn't hold up and that it super jumps the shark and that there's like surfing involved and all kinds of nonsense. So who knows?
People do in LA.
But I will say that, like, as far as this goes, it's like, yeah, like watching another John Carpenter film and stuff. And I don't think I knew that, that it was him. Watching that, it was like, okay, let's see how this kind of holds up and what it was like. It's really cool. There's a lot of fun in the simplicity of, like, it opens up and immediately the only thing you need to know is the crime rate in 1988 has gone up by 400%. Manhattan is now a prison. That's your backstory. Shut the fuck up. There is no time.
Like something like Escape from New York and a lot of movies from the era, like the early 90s, it's this really fascinating snapshot. I'm totally obsessed with like the dangerous future of each era and like what's going to get us, right? And we had like you know, in the aughts it was like meteors were going to come get us, like things from outside the world. And it's like, yeah, in the 80s it was like, man, crime's out of control, this shit's nuts. What if it just keeps like what if the line for crime just keeps going up like infinitely? And it's like, actually we banned leaded gasoline, so
yeah,
it's gonna crash in like 3-4 years.
Give it a minute. No, but the parts where you're kind of like, you're getting in on that premise, right? And then they establish that it's like, once you get in, there's no getting out. And then, oh no, are you a bad enough dude to rescue the president? You know, the whole premise definitely relies on your brain to do a lot of the heavy lifting, you know. And to be fair, like great movies do. I mean, Alien, and anything where Jaws, anything where the thing's off screen, your brain has to do a lot of the heavy lifting here, right? But the idea of like the whole island of Manhattan has been abandoned and it is just absolute chaos and hell inside is like, oh fuck, okay, that's crazy. And upon going into it, you're like, well, it's kind of rough, I guess, but people are still sitting around, you know, they're watching little live musical shows and having a good time, and that cab driver guy seems to be enjoying himself, you know. And it's a bit of a goofy little world where like Snake Plissken is like the most dangerous and angry and like serious about the whole situation, but things are like kind of just a goofy beat 'em up 70s world.
It's a strange movie, and now that I think about the predilection of like crime, right? I'm thinking of like how Escape from New York is portraying New York as like the most insane place that's ever. Oh my God, it's out of control. But like parts of Escape from New York are less actively hostile than The Warriors, which takes place in non-fantasy real New York.
Okay, so The Warriors is one comparison point there. I was going to go to another, which is like the example of the abandoned city left for, you know, the apocalypse. In the Ark Batman, No Man's Land, right? Gotham is like, there's bombs on the bridges, it's all isolated, and it is just a free-for-all purge-ass hellscape in between. And reading Batman No Man's Land is way scarier than Escape from New York, you know? Like all the rogues gallery of villains all basically cut up sections of the city into their own areas, and like their craziness is what determines the you know, the danger and how nuts it is in each borough and stuff. But overall, like that is like you're that's doing what your brain is expecting of like how scary it is to be in this kind of cut off environment. And here you're just kind of like, you're like, yeah, all right, you know, it seems to be kind of messy and goofy, but like, you know, it ain't the worst thing. And they're like, nah, dude, it's all about the Duke of New York. No one crosses the Duke, you know? And I don't know do you remember who the villain is?
I don't.
The villain pulls up and the door opens and it's this big car caravan, and fucking Isaac Hayes with a cowboy hat steps out. And you're just like, what?
Okay.
Like what? Chef? You know? Like, you're not scary at all. He's kind of got a little jovial funk attitude to it, you know? And you're just like, this is the worst possible casting for a bad guy ever. It's like
you have to remember when did Escape from New York come out?
78?
So, no, 81, right? You have to remember like what character would scare non-New York adults in the year 1981.
I guess.
When you put like Isaac Hayes in as a bald black man, you're like halfway there for that audience.
Once again, I'm like, it would have been more intimidating to get Sho'nuff, you know, as the main bad guy.
Oh, it should have been Sho'nuff.
It should have been Sho'nuff.
So awesome.
Sho'nuff.
He is the master.
Right? it's just kind of goofy because Isaac Hayes does not carry that threatening energy whatsoever. And I did recall afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, I feel like I've heard discussions before about he's like the most miscast element of the movie, because Kurt Russell is doing a great job being.
Yeah, he's at the peak of his like 80s manliness.
Yeah, and he's like leather jacket grumbling his way through the movie. He's snaking it as you do, and you know, everybody knows him by reputation. Like, you're alive, aren't you dead? I heard about you, you know, and he's doing the whole thing. He's great. He's excellent.
You know what I love about something like Escape from New York and like, you know, Evangelion and like whatever, anything that was like, wow, this was like a like incredibly peak, like evocative thing at the time, is like you rewatch it in your current age, right? And you just go, wow, they stole this shit. Wow, that's crazy. The name, the eye patch,
Shameless.
like the whole
Shameless.
fucking thing.
But you know what? You know what? After the credits rolled, I was like, well, fuck, I would want to make a video game based on that too, actually.
Yeah.
Like, you could pitch a really cool game for break into New York City prison with the wall around it and break out with the president. That's totally a really cool game idea, right? Also, fucking Lee Van Cleef being awesome, right? That is he, you know, you're just like, okay, you want your Ocelot, you got your fucking Ocelot. He's excellent, right? And that's one of the, I think, like, besides The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, I think that's the only other role I think I know him from. So
He's in A Few Dollars More.
Okay.
Which is really strange because he plays an incredibly similar character in A Few Dollars More, who meets Blondie and is just a totally different guy. Despite being almost the same guy.
Well, so that's why it's the trilogy, but not really a trilogy, right? They're just like,
no, it's we made 3 movies in a row, and they're all based
they're
off
all the
Samurai
same.
films.
There you go. But no, yeah, he's excellent in this, and like you totally see them sitting in front of each other, and he's hiring him for the mission, and he's all like, and he's literally loading up a revolver, you know, while he's talking to him, and goes, "You got to rescue the president," and the Snake's like, "The president of what?" You know, and you're like, look at them go, and you're like, yeah, let's get more of that. That's cash money, you know. But it's just kind of wild where like the world is not selling it as much as the character is, you know, like specifically Snake Plissken. And to that end, I'll say, like, it's still pretty fun and like ultimately you know, it's a good romp. That theme song is an absolute all-time banger. The Escape from New York theme song is incredible. It is.
Well, Carpenter knows how to make an incredible, like, iconic track.
Sure does, right? When it's him as well composing, yeah. I mean, it's powerful. But it is interesting to kind of see, like, okay, here's the same director, same, like, all that competence and like everything, but like it has these little goofy flaws, and then you just fast forward a couple years, and then you're like, oh no, he had to build up to the thing, and the thing is just perfect. There is nothing to be said about it. It's just a perfect film, right?
I would call the thing like a triumph.
Yeah, it's a perfect film.
It's just unbelievable.
There's no part of it, like, I'm talking about the goofy parts that aged here, and I'm like, there's nothing to be said about that after seeing it, where I'm like, no, time is irrelevant to it.
I would say that, like, the thing, I don't even talk about the acting. I mean, like, the production of the thing literally could not be made today at the same quality because the experts in the field of the best practical effects to ever exist are all dead now.
Right.
Stan Winston is gone.
Right.
There is no certified fucking VFX genius that can build the thing rigs anymore.
I mean, they are, but they're not necessarily getting hired, right? They're kind of doing it for the love of the game and not.
Stan wasn't just like the best. He was the best who was working every day for like 20, 30 years on being the best.
So what I will say is you can convert that effort into other things. Like, for example, the folks behind Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to talk about just respect for the old craft. They're doing it on another level with like stop motion and things like that. There's still pockets of this incredible like level of dedication. But one of the sad things to find out, I didn't know, was that like even though, yeah, Carpenter and The Thing, you're kind of associating that with like some of the most incredible practical effects, to the point where there was an auction, I think, happening like last month, where they had like memorabilia, and they had the head from The Thing with the like extended like tendrils and stuff for like 70 grand or so. And it's like, if you want to just get that original, you can. And you know, to which a friend was like, hey, yo, gotta borrow 70K. What, you know, what for? And it's just like that. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, you know. And then, you know, when the kid turns college age, it's just like, here's your tuition, toss the head, you know. But what was sad was to find out that like Carpenter didn't necessarily then go on to be like, yeah, practical effects champ, because like he embraced like really shitty CG, you know, into the late 80s, into 90s. And so Escape from LA apparently has a bunch of awful CG in it, as do a couple other things he worked on. So, you know, that was kind of unfortunate. But regardless, I will say that like going back to
John Carpenter is like the most normal guy to ever do it. Like, he's just like, all I want to do is smoke weed and play Xbox games.
Nice.
And then people are like, hey, do you ever want to direct another Halloween? And he goes, yeah, sure, if they paid me. Pay me.
Well, I mean, they did a bunch without him, right? And then they went, okay, that shit never happened, he's coming back. Which is
and like he also has like gone on like I remember reading an interview where he was talking about how fucking much he hates going to filmmakers like retreats and filmmakers like seminars, where he's just like walk in and there's always some new guy and just waxing poetic about the right way to make a movie, and everyone's just hanging on to their every word, and it's all just a bunch of fucking shit. I get high and go to the buffet.
Nah, it's just you need more of that like Anthony Hopkins energy of just like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's a script. You just read the words on the page. Like, what is this method bullshit?
The method, man.
You know, like, no, you read it and then you act and then you go home. Like, what you know? But yeah, no, it's.
Anthony Hopkins is so amazing for that, because he's one of the best actors ever, and like he gets to be in the position to tell you that the way you're doing it is stupid, because well, I didn't have to do that. What, you had to pretend to be a whole person all day to read your lines? What are you, just a shitty actor? What, you have to become the human? And
you know, and he has a sir, as he's been knighted, and he's talking shit to you. You're being shit talked to by a knight. Anyway, it is quite clear that like, yeah, Kojima like is, you know, we already knew this, but you're like, it is beyond reproach how lifted everything is. But it's still fun and it's still great, and I still enjoy that I'm playing like a PlayStation 1 game has cutscenes of real nuclear waste, you know, and we learned about Muff. You know, it's important. It's still good.
I think what's really funny is that some of the lifting was like so ridiculous. There was a guy in like Metal Gear 1 or 2 that was like just the Predator. Like literally, it was just Predator. And I think there was another one that was also just Spider-Man. And like those were so close, they had to be changed. It was just like, fuck it.
I mean, some of the portraits as well on the codec calls, right?
Oh, they're traced over photos from like James Bond.
It's
and
crazy.
Shit.
Like, until Yoji Shinkawa came around and started doing his shit, like they're just like, grab a photo of an 80s action hero and just trace that shit.
That's so fucking funny, dude.
Yeah. But again, he was like making these Japanese like, you know, spy games for obscure consoles. Who the fuck? The world was not supposed to know.
Catch on to this shit? I hope this doesn't become really important.
Right? Of course not. Also, it was the style at the time, right? You wear your fucking orange on your belt, or your onion on your belt, and then you make a Contra game with Sylvester Stallone and fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger on the cover. You know? You get Wizards and Warriors, and you put fucking Fabio with a sword on the cover. Like, this is what we did. This is what video games were. It was just, you know, everything was aping something else. Um, but yeah, it was fun to go back to and
What, hey guys, hey, Lethal Weapon, but in space. Think about it.
Damn.
What if instead of police, they were police knots?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Oh, dude. Oh, he almost bangs his daughter also. What?
Don't forget about the Frozones and the what was it? The defrosters or whatever the fuck. The like,
what the fuck were they called?
they froze nut and then they defrosted the nut. And then you're the product of defrosted nut, and now that's a slur.
What was it? There's someone in the chat's gonna help us.
De-icers?
Frozeners. Frozeners. Yeah.
Frozeners, sure. Yeah.
Hey, get the fuck out of my bar, Frostoid.
Yeah. But then you had an amazing theme song as well, which is also very Carpenter, you know. I want to believe that Kojima reached out at some point many times over the years to John Carpenter, you know, and got no reply whatsoever because the clout wasn't where it was today.
I would like to go with a hot take that'll take about 15 years to percolate. I think that we are going to see a dramatic decrease in the quality of all ideas going into big budget video games over the next 10 to 15 years, as there are not the fucking glut of cool ass movies to steal from like there were in the 80s and 90s.
I will see that and combine. I will double down on that take from the opposite side. Okay? So that's one reason, and by our powers combined, the other reason, Yoko Taro said it this week. Fucking
not enough weird people.
Not enough weird people in games development, right? That's it. We'll take that. That's it. We'll get early docket on that. Yoko Taro says there's not enough weird game developers, and that's why, and that sucks. And
yeah, but
they're using the screenshot of like the Drakengard like a true ending with the weird statue and the tongue sticking out right before fucking the portal opens up to create the franchise.
Yeah, so that's a function of global economics more than anything. And it's like, listen, back in the 80s, man, we missed it. It's bullshit. But back in the 80s, you could be a fucking artist, and you could be like an okay artist, like a painter or a sculptor, and sell to like a couple rich people, and you could just afford your car payments and your studio apartment. It was called a studio apartment because that's what was for artists.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you'd make men's meat, and that's fine. But now, unless you're working for Pixar doing 400 hours a second, like, nah, you got to get your roommates to fucking pitch in to get the new toilet. Well, I'm kind of flying off the edge here. But you know what I'm saying?
You're going kind of, yeah, you're going a bit ham. But but listen, you can still go get a product made, and you can still get your script read by A24. And if it's quirky enough, they'll put the quirky budget behind it and make a little trailer that puts all the things that says like, you know, this thing did gangbusters at Cannes, you know, so you're gonna love it. It's quirky and it's coming this summer. And you know, we can get someone attached to it. So sure, you can still make those movies, but it'll transform into something else.
But that's like
at some point.
Singular, independent, cheaply made genre of movie that still makes money to make.
And then in the gaming equivalent, you kind of just go, yeah, I'm gonna do pixel art and make it with like 5 of my buddies and throw it up on Steam.
You know what I'm gonna do, man? You know what I'm gonna do? All right, you know how? Okay, I pitched it. It's our new friend slop. It's got survival elements, and you play with your friends, and it's got proximity chat. Can I get this pitched? Yes? Okay, good.
Sick.
I did it.
Theme? I don't know. What's on the asset store? What are we doing?
Space. No, Vikings?
Okay.
No.
Mm-hmm. Fruits. We got a bunch of fruits.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
There we go. Yeah, you know, it is very possible to be that quirky weirdo like creator and just kind of get the thing made, you know, as a weird little indie thing on the much earlier or so. But in terms of weirdos helming the ship, right?
Yeah.
There are very few weirdos helming the fucking freighter class, you know, ship with tons of people underneath them going, "Sir, yes, sir."